The year was 1912. The ship was the pride of the ocean, a floating palace of steel and light, carrying dreams across the Atlantic. Among the passengers was a young man named Edmund, 23 years old, traveling alone, carrying nothing but a suitcase and a heart full of hope for the new life waiting for him on the other side. That night, by candlelight, he sat down to write a letter, not to family, not to friends, but to whoever might one day need to hear his words. He wrote about fear, about courage, about the strange comfort of beginning again. He had no idea it would be the last thing he ever wrote. The sea was calm that night, too calm. The stars stretched endlessly above the black water, and the ship moved forward in silence, unaware of what waited in the dark. Then came the sound, a groan of metal, a shudder beneath their feet. The unsinkable ship had met its match. Passengers stumbled from their cabins. Crew members shouted orders into the freezing night air. Lifeboats swung outward, lowering into a sea that had turned from calm to merciless in a matter of minutes. Edmund ran, not toward safety, but back through flooding corridors, back to his cabin, back to the letter he had left behind. He found it exactly where he'd left it. Water rising past his ankles, he folded the paper with trembling hands and sealed it inside an empty glass bottle. If he could not survive this night, his words would. On the deck, the ship groaned its final protest against the sea. The angle grew steeper. Passengers clung to railings, to each other, to whatever was left to hold on to. Edmund stood at the edge, bottle in hand, and looked out at the endless black water. With one final breath, he threw it as far as his strength would allow. The bottle disappeared into the waves, just as the ship disappeared into the sea. For years it drifted, through storms and stillness, through sunrises no one witnessed, and nights lit only by the moon, carried by currents older than memory itself, until one ordinary morning, on a beach thousands of miles from where it began, a stranger's foot brushed against something hard beneath the sand. A bottle, old, weathered, sealed. Inside, a single folded letter, the last words of a man named Edmund, who had died so that his voice could live. And after more than a century of silence, someone finally began to read. Stories like this one are lost every day, buried under time and silence. If this one moved you, subscribe, so the next story doesn't stay buried either.